Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie, and I am your absent-minded host. It's Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and at Wednesday at about 2 o'clock, I realized I hadn't recorded this episode. Let's see here. This is the problem with being ahead of the schedule, like being on time, actually being prepared, because I wrote the show and then I forgot to record the show because in my mind, the show was done. I wrote it. Usually it's all kind of done, the day before and the day of recording. I wrote the show like on Friday, maybe added a couple things on Saturday, and in my head, I was done. So, yeah. At 2 o'clock, I realized I had not because I was looking at my stats for the show and I was like, why are the downloads so low? It should be much higher because we just released a show. And then I looked and I was like, oh, that show's not there. I didn't post it. So, my apologies. I feel really bad about that. We do have some shows coming up, pre-recorded shows. Last week, this is the problem, is from like November 2nd to November 7th, I think, I recorded 5 or 6 episodes ahead of time of different podcasts. And some of those are this podcast. Like this Friday, we have Allison Sheridan. Next week, we're going to talk about full self-driving. And then on Thursday, which is Thanksgiving Day, we have our Thanksgiving extravaganza. And the next pre-recorded show after that is Rivian. Rivian's earnings call. So I had all of these shows prepped, recorded, ready to release, and I didn't do anything with this show. So I apologize for that. All right, enough of that. I will punish myself later, I promise. Let's get to the news. A few weeks ago, we had the Stellantis earnings call. We talked about their joint venture with Chinese EV maker Leap Motors. And at that time, Stellantis was going to build Leap Motors' second vehicle. I think it was the EC10 or the C10. I didn't write it down, and I'm blanking on it. But they were going to build that vehicle in Poland. But according to two people familiar with the matter, those plans have been scrapped, and now Stellantis is still looking to build this vehicle in Europe, but it'll be in one of their Germany or Slovakia factories. So I'll keep you posted as we learn more about this story. Just a little update. Rivian and Volkswagen have officially launched their joint venture. Volkswagen said they were going to invest $5 billion. It's actually something like $5.8 billion, but everybody's reporting $5 billion. And Rivian was going to take that money and help Volkswagen with their EV architecture and their software stack. The joint venture is headed by representatives from each company and will be based in Palo Alto, California. But there will be 3 other sites to come in Europe and North America. So they're trying to get talent from different parts of the world, which is, smart. We can expect to see the fruits of their labor as early as 2027. Now, this is great because by an amazing coincidence, the Scout EV, the Traveler and the Terra, which is the SUV and pickup truck, Scout is owned by Volkswagen, if you didn't know. Anyway, these vehicles are expected to come out in 2027. So exciting. We don't know for sure that Scout is going to use or take advantage of this new joint venture and the EV architecture software stack, but we could assume they're going to, for sure. The next story is for a very specific group of people. When I say specific, I mean like 1.5 million of you. Here's the thing. You have to be a Chevy EV owner or wanting to buy a Chevy EV. You have to live in Texas, and you need to be a customer of the electrical utility Reliant. So what you need to do is you need to go buy a new Chevy EV from one of over 150 dealerships in Texas. And if you meet all 4 of these criteria, you can charge your EV between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. for free. Owners of these vehicles will receive credits on their electricity bill, and those credits are based on the amount of electricity they used when they were charging their vehicle. So this is great. Of course, you got to do it during those approved hours. But if you do, you can charge your EV for free. This is a partnership between Reliant and GM Energy. So it's pretty cool stuff. I would expect more companies to do stuff like this as well. Ford is offering discounts on the 2024 Lightning and Mach-E vehicles. So right now, if you buy a new Lightning or Mach-E, it didn't mention whether or not the Transit van was involved in this at all. So we're just going to stick with the Lightning and Mach-E. You can get 0% financing for 72 months, $5,000 bonus cash, a free level 2 EV charger, and Ford will cover the cost of standard installation. Obviously, if you need something that is outside of whatever standard installation is, you're going to have to come up with that out of your own pocket. But you get $5,000 bonus cash. So I would assume you could use some of that $5,000 to cover whatever's outside that standard installation cost. You're also going to get 24/7 live support and an 8-year, 100,000-mile battery warranty. Lease deals for the F-150 Lightning and the Mach-E are a little bit better. You get $10,500 lease cash. And who knows what lease cash is for the Mach-E, and you'll get a $6,500 lease cash option for the F-150 Lightning. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking at buying a new EV before the end of the year, you should definitely take a look at these deals. Now, I will say there is some rumors that President Trump is going to remove or get rid of the IRA EV tax credit sometime in 2025 when he takes office. This might be true. And I would say it has a lot of credibility in being true because he's said that he wants to get rid of it. Whether or not it'll be done in his first 100 days, I genuinely don't know. But if you're going to buy an EV, if you buy it before the end of 2024, you're definitely going to get that $7,500 or whatever you qualify for. No telling what's going to happen in 2025. That's not to scare anybody. That's just to say we're guaranteed until 2025. All right. This next story is kind of in the EV news space, kind of in the Tesla space. So it bridges the gap between the two segments that we do here on the show. CEO of CATL, which is a battery manufacturer in China, the CEO's name is Robin Zhang. He spoke to Reuters in China earlier this month. And we have some details of what CATL is up to. And I thought it might be interesting because we rarely talk about these battery manufacturers other than, what they're working on or who they're working with. But we don't really go into any depth into their business itself. So I thought maybe we would just take a moment and talk about what CATL is looking at for the 2025 and the near future. CATL currently supplies 35% of all batteries used in EVs around the world, which is an amazing number. They're moving more into grid storage. They currently do some grid storage. They're wanting to up their game in terms of grid storage. Like their goal is to have enough grid storage to power a massive data center or, some small cities, because some data centers may actually use more electricity than some small cities. So they want to have that much grid storage available to be able to do that in different locations. CATL's energy storage business actually grew 33% last year. So they're heading in the right direction. In addition to grid storage, they're also looking at developing, or actually they have developed an EV platform with a long-range battery. And it's code-named Panqi, which I think means bedrock. I didn't write that down, but if I remember right, that's what it means in Chinese. According to Zhang, this EV platform will have a range of 800 kilometers or 497 miles on a single charge. Their overall goal is they don't want to make a car. They just want to provide a platform to other EV makers. And like I said, they're currently working on this. It hasn't been officially announced, but they're talking about it, so I'm sure it'll be announced soon. CATL is also working with Stellantis on a jointly owned battery factory in Spain. In addition to that, they are also operating factories in Germany, and they're building a new factory in Hungary. And these factories will supply companies like BMW, Stellantis, and Volkswagen. And it makes sense for CATL to build these factories in Europe because the European Union has imposed tariffs on Chinese EV makers. And Zhang actually calls that stupid thinking. He doesn't think that's a very good way to go for the European Union. And he says that European automakers would be better off with partnering with Chinese automakers rather than trying to keep them out of the market. And, look at Stellantis and Leap Motors as an example. He went on to say that CATL is open to building a factory here in the United States as long as Trump lets China take part in the US's EV supply chain. What I think he means by that is being able to take part in the federal tax credits that we have here in the United States. I've already talked about where those may or may not go in the near future. So he would prefer that rather than excluding Chinese companies from being able to take part in the tax credits that we have, he would like us to open that up and include more Chinese companies. And this includes raw materials and battery cells and a bunch of other stuff. The Inflation Reduction Act has a lot of things in it. It's changed a bunch of times since it was initially introduced. So trying to explain it without actually going back and rereading it, I don't think I would do a very good job. But basically, either Chinese automakers would be able to take advantage of the Inflation Reduction Act tax credit, as well as companies who used materials and cells from China, that kind of thing. Moving on to different battery technologies, Zhang doesn't think that solid state batteries are the next step for EVs. That doesn't mean that CATL is completely ruling solid state batteries out. Currently, they have 20,000 researchers on staff, and 1,000 of those are working on solid state batteries. And they've actually invested $830 million into solid state battery research. So it sounds to me like what he is saying here is that solid state batteries aren't ready yet, or at least whatever CATL is thinking a solid state battery should look like. There are companies like QuantumScape and I think another company is Factorial. Actually, Graham, who's a Patreon supporter, he sent me a really good article on the advancement of solid state batteries and what companies are doing. I was going to talk about it on the podcast, but I'll be honest with you, 100% honest with you. I don't understand some of it well enough to talk about it with any sort of authority. I am trying to get somebody on to talk about solid state batteries because I think that's a better way to go rather than me butcher the actual facts of the matter. But I'll put a link and it'll put its own little special Graham's recommendation. I'll put a link to that article in the show notes. So if you want to learn more about it, you absolutely can. It's a really good article. I have gone through it several times. But again, like I said, there's still some things that I need to learn about battery chemistries and technologies that I just don't feel comfortable explaining out loud. I feel like I have a somewhat of a tenuous grasp on it, but I just don't think I could. I don't think I could explain it and sound intelligent, much like I am now. I don't think I'm sounding that smart anyway. So moving on to Robin Zhang's comments, he thinks that sodium ion batteries are a much better way to go right now than solid state batteries. The reasons why is that sodium is cheap and readily available. It operates at low temperatures. It has a much more reduced fire risk. And CATL is currently manufacturing sodium ion batteries for their Freevoy battery pack, which pairs sodium ion cells with lithium ion cells. Now we're getting to that part where we're bridging the Tesla news and the EV news segments. Zhang did have some thoughts, bold thoughts, on Elon Musk and Tesla's battery efforts. So in terms of the battery cells, the 4680 battery cells, he thinks it's going to fail and it will never be successful. And he told Elon, hey, this is going to fail and it's not going to be successful. Here's the quote from the article. It's going to fail and never be successful. We had a very big debate and I showed him. He was silent. He doesn't know how to make a battery. It's about electrochemistry. He's good for the chips, the software, the hardware, and the mechanical things. So that's what he says. Now, if you read EV news, you'll see that it says CATL CEO says Elon Musk doesn't know how to make batteries. He didn't really belabor that point. He just mentioned it. Zhang also talked about Elon and his unrealistic timelines. And he actually brought this up to Elon. It's like, why do you make these unrealistic timelines? And he says, well, if anything, basically I'm paraphrasing, anything over 2 years might as well be infinity. So he comes up with these impossible timelines to hit. And Zhang's answer to that was, one is it, hurts your team, and also hurts your credibility because you constantly miss timelines. Why not come up with something that's more realistic? I have not heard Elon respond to these comments. He may have. I actually don't follow Elon on Twitter anymore for a variety of different reasons. Mostly, I don't like it when people are being bullies, and I think Elon is being a bully. And I want to be clear about this. Like, I don't care if somebody is conservative or liberal or whatever that you are politically. I'll still follow you. That doesn't matter to me. But if you are actively posting things that is kind of cruel, I can't watch. I can't be a part of that. So I stopped following Elon for that reason. I didn't want to, but honestly, it was just like, I don't like bullies. It's okay to, for people to give each other a hard time and tease each other. I think that's fine. But when it becomes, just you being a jerk, I just can't be a part of that. And if he stops doing that, I'll follow him again. Anyway, some of the articles that I read theorize that Zhang can make these comments because, Tesla is CATL's largest customer, or one of their largest customers. But Zhang can make these comments because Tesla needs CATL more than CATL needs Tesla. And that is where Zhang can go in, say these things, be super confident that they're not going to lose a client, because that client needs them more than they need Tesla. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff. I'm going to take a quick break here and just say, hey, if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/kilowatt or supportkilowatt.com. There is a link in the show notes for Acast Plus. If you want to support the show, but you don't like Patreon, you can do it there. And yeah, I'm going to CES in January, and it's coming quick. I'm excited. I was going to drive there. That would be my first long distance drive in my Tesla, but I'm only spending 2 days there, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to talk to everybody. So I'm actually going to end up flying there. I had some airline miles, and I just used those to cash those in. So it cost me $11 and some airline miles. So, but yeah, I'm super stoked and looking forward to getting on the show floor. All right, let's move into our Tesla news. Tesla is shipping a software update soon, if they haven't already shipped it. I don't think I've got it yet, but it will reduce power consumption by nearly 40% when Sentry mode is activated, which is great. This update was actually supposed to be released earlier this year, but as with most things with Tesla, it got delayed, but it's finally here. So one thing I will say is most of the things that Elon and Tesla say they are going to release, they do. It's just not exactly when it's supposed to be released. So, or when they say it's going to be released. Tesla is starting to deliver its V4 supercharger cabinets. Now, if you are sitting in your vehicle or wherever you are and you're saying out loud, well, that's not true. V4 supercharger stalls have been here for forever. You're right, but that's not exactly what we're talking about in this situation. The supercharger stations are made up of two main parts. You have the stalls where you park in front of and you charge your car. And then you have the cabinets, which are usually off to the side. I've kind of seen them behind a wall sometimes or behind some fencing. And that's where all the power electronics is. That's where all the electricity comes from to power your vehicle. V4 stalls have actually been deployed, I think, since 2023, but they were using an enhanced V3 cabinets. So V3 cabinets, standard V3 cabinets, deliver about 250 kilowatts of power. Not about, it is 250 kilowatts of power, but these enhanced cabinets will deliver 350. Well, now that they are shipping these new V4 cabinets, they're actually going to be able to deliver 500 kilowatts for cars and 1.2 megawatts for the Tesla Semi. These superchargers are also going to support both 400 and 1000-volt architectures. Basically, this comes down to faster charging if your car is capable of accepting that. And that looks like around 200 miles in 15 minutes. So that's pretty good. Another advantage is they'll be able to deploy the V4 supercharger stalls and cabinets faster than the V3s. So that's great. This next story is an interesting one. The Model Y was awarded the IIHS top safety pick. This is actually sought after from automakers. Like if you get a top safety pick plus, your car is really safe and you can tell your customers, hey, you can buy this car because you're less likely to get hurt or die if you're in an accident. The Model S also received overall evaluation of superior of the from the IIHS, and these are models from 2016 to 2021. But I'm sure that the new Model S's and X's and those vehicles also have a very high rating from the IIHS. So based on that, and I actually told my wife this information when I bought my Model Y. But I want to know, why am I seeing articles and headlines that say that Teslas have the highest fatal accident rates? So I dove into this a little bit. Automotive research firm IC Cars evaluated data from the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration and found that the Model Y and Model S are several times more likely to be susceptible to fatal accidents than the average car or SUV. According to IC Cars, the Model Y is 3 times more likely to have a fatality over 1 billion miles than the average car, and the Model S, is twice as likely. So as I'm reading this, I'm like, how can this be? That doesn't make any sense. So after reading several of the articles, it comes down not to the issue of the safety features in the vehicle. The occupant protection is still fantastic. The issue is distracted driving and higher speeds. Effectively, what they're saying is that the software packages like full self-driving and autopilot are good enough that it causes distracted driving. And then when there's an accident, there's more likely to be a fatality. The other issue is, Teslas drive really fast. And I will say there are times when I am driving my car and I'm like, oh, I am driving way too fast. I need to slow it down. So one of the things that I like to do when I read articles like this is look at the comments, and there are, you know what, let's just say there were a number of people defending Tesla and saying that this place, the IC Cars people, are, it's clickbait and they're only doing it to damage Tesla's reputation and la da 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 da. I do think this article does make some good points in terms of distracted driving. We already know that speed kills. Like if you're driving really fast and you hit somebody or something at a high rate of speed, there's a very high chance that you or somebody else is going to get severely injured or you're going to die, because that's how the speed works. And sudden stopping when you get into an accident. As far as the distracted driving goes, I do know, and we're going to have an interview next Tuesday, where we talk about this, that Tesla's software packages for self-driving and assisted driving is pretty good, but there are, edge cases where it doesn't act as good. And if you're not paying attention and you're distracted, that could be very dangerous. So I do think this article makes some good points as far as that goes, or the research that IC Cars does. But I think we need to have more data than just what IC Cars came up with. Like apparently they tested, or they looked at the numbers of a bunch of different vehicles, and I don't think they were targeting Tesla unfairly or anything like that. I'm not going to go that far, but I think that this is a good jumping off point for more research. But I don't don't put a lot of credence into this, because there are plenty of people who don't drive fast and who aren't, using their cell phone or being distracted in some other way while they're driving, and they're using Teslas. So and I'm not a scientist, but this seems, and I know there are scientists who listen to this podcast, this seems like a flawed study. I won't even call it research. I'll just say this seems like a flawed study. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If I were to say to you, based on my career of being a firefighter for nearly 25 years, uh, Teslas are the safest car on the road, because I have only been on one car crash that involved a Tesla, and it was minor in my entire career, one car. So based on that information, based on that research that I have done, which isn't research at all, but based on that data, like if I was to, tally up all the numbers of all the cars that I've been on, when it comes to car accidents, Tesla's going to be the least. Therefore, Teslas are the safest car. I think it's kind of like that. I don't think we're seeing the whole picture here. When I'm in a fire truck and I drive the fire truck, so I'm sitting in the driver's seat, you get a really good view of what people are doing in their vehicles. Like, you can see down into your car. So just keep that in mind if there's ever a fire truck next to you. It's really easy to see what you're doing in your car. And in a lot of cases, people are on their phone. Sometimes they're only on their phone at the light. Sometimes they're on their phone while they're driving, and you can almost see what they're texting. That's how good of a view you get from where we're sitting. And those people will occasionally, I've heard, I don't know 100%, but I have heard that those people will get a little air horn to remind them to put the phone down and pay attention to the road, so that they don't get into an accident and hurt themselves or somebody else. Now, do they like getting the air horn? Absolutely not. I could tell you some funny stories of reactions that I've got after somebody may or may not have gotten an air horn when I was around. But I won't do that here. But there's one that I found to be hilarious, and everybody else in the truck found to be hilarious as well. But anyway, the point is, if it even happened, the point is, I think there is something here that we can use as a jumping off point to look at this kind of thing. But there are more people driving around in their vehicles and using their cell phones or doing something else that's considered distracting than just driving Teslas. Now, the Tesla admittedly can do a lot of this for you, but it's not a lot of the driving for you. So maybe you feel more comfortable checking out for longer. I honestly don't know, but I can tell you that the people driving around in all types of vehicles are taking part in distracted driving. Is that everybody? Absolutely not. Just like it's not every Tesla driver is distracted when they're driving. So I really feel like there is again a good place to kind of move this study forward, or this research forward, and study it a little bit deeper, but basing it off of numbers from the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, which, by the way, to be fair, is doing a lot of investigations or looking into a lot of deaths involving Tesla. I don't necessarily think this is I don't want to say it's flawed, because I'm not a scientist, and nor do I do science, experiments and things like that. I think there's something missing here, is really what it comes down to. And I don't think we're getting the whole story. Now, if it was me, I would just say distracted driving and high speeds are result in a lot of fatal accidents. I don't think it matters really what car you're in, but that's just me. And that seems like it makes more sense. So I don't want to belabor the point here, because I feel like I'm kind of rambling on here. But I'm going to stop talking about this particular subject. And I'm going to say, first of all, thank you all for being really patient with me. I am really sorry that I forgot to do Tuesday's episode, and I'm finally getting it done now. I will be better about that in the future. Honestly, I have no excuse. I was so proud of myself for getting 4 or 5 episodes done and edited and ready to go. and I just did not record this one. So I apologize about that. We got some good episodes coming up for you. I really hope that you all enjoy the Thanksgiving episode. It was a lot of fun. Allison Sheridan, returning champion of the Thanksgiving extravaganza game show that we did last year. Allison was on. Rob was not able to make it. Rob was on last year. Steve Sheridan is on, and my oldest, Sierra, is on. And I think you're going to really enjoy this year's episode. It was a lot of fun. So, all right, everybody. I think that is it for me. If you need to email me, you can. It's Bodie, BODIE at 918digital.com. If you want to follow me on X, you absolutely can do that. It is at 918digital. And yeah, that's it. I'm also still working on the Fisker episode, and man, that's a deep dive, and I'm trying to make it super cool and out for Christmas. I'm looking forward to what everybody thinks of that as well. And you know what? This is going to be the last time that I talk to you before Thanksgiving here in the United States. So I do want to say, and I want to be perfectly clear about this, and I'm being absolutely sincere. I am thankful for each and every one of you who listens to the show. I know some of you recommend the show to your friends. I know that some of you will email in and give great article suggestions like Graham did. Thank you for supporting me, supporting the show, and always trying to make the show better. That really means a lot to me. So I don't want to get emotional here, but I feel like I am. It really means a lot. You are wonderful folks, the folks that I've had a pleasure of interacting with. So thank you so much for supporting this show and making it better. It means a lot. So with that, I hope you all have a great day, and you will hear back from me and Allison Sheridan on Friday.